It was supposed to be a peaceful Christmas morning, December 25th, 1945, Fayetteville, West Virginia, a small mining town where everyone knew each other, where crime was rare, and where families gathered close on cold winter nights. Inside a modest wooden house on a hillside lived the Sodder family. George and Jenny Sodder, immigrants who believed deeply in hard work, family, and the promise of America. Their children were asleep upstairs, waiting for Christmas morning. Just after 1 o'clock, Jenny woke to the smell of smoke. Within minutes, the house was on fire. George ran outside, screaming for his children. 4 were rescued. 2 older sons escaped on their own, but 5 children were still inside. George tried to reach them, and that's when everything went wrong. The staircase leading upstairs was gone. The ladder he always used had disappeared. Both family trucks refused to start. As flames consumed the house, neighbors watched helplessly. By sunrise, nothing remained but ashes. Authorities said the children died in the fire, but the Sodders knew something no one else seemed willing to say. There were no bodies, no bones, no remains of any kind. Experienced firefighters later admitted the truth. Even in the hottest fires, bones survive. So where were the children? As days passed, disturbing details emerged. A strange phone call the night before, a cut phone line, witnesses who claimed they saw children being taken away as the house burned. What began as a tragic accident quickly transformed into something darker, a mystery that would haunt one family for the rest of their lives, a case that would stretch across decades, a question that has never been answered. Were the Sodder children killed in the fire? Or were they taken, alive, into the night? This is the story of a family who refused to stop searching, and a disappearance that remains one of the most chilling unsolved cases in American history. In October 2009, James Jamison, his wife Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison disappeared in the remote mountains of Oklahoma. At first, there was nothing dramatic about their departure. They told relatives they were looking at land. They packed lightly. They left their home and drove into the wilderness. They never came back. James Jamison was known as a quiet, reserved man. He worked in construction and enjoyed the idea of living off the grid. Sherilyn, his wife, was described as deeply religious, intense, and increasingly paranoid in the years before her disappearance. Friends later recalled that she believed their home was haunted and that dark forces were following the family. Madison was 6 years old. She was shy, affectionate, and closely attached to her parents. On October 8, 2009, the family left their home in Eufaula, Oklahoma, driving a white pickup truck. They told relatives they were heading into the San Bois Mountains to look at a piece of land they were considering buying. That was the last confirmed contact anyone had with them. 8 days later, their truck was found abandoned on a remote dirt road near Red Oak, Oklahoma. The location was isolated, surrounded by dense forest and rough terrain. Inside the vehicle, investigators found something deeply unsettling. All 3 cell phones were still inside. Their wallets and identification were untouched. A GPS device was found in the car, and in the back seat, there was a bag containing approximately $32,000 in cash. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no damage to the vehicle. Nothing suggested violence had occurred at the site, but the family was gone. Why would a family leave their vehicle carrying none of their essentials and walk into a remote wilderness area, leaving behind phones, money, and supplies? As the search expanded, attention turned to a strange video recorded months before the disappearance. The footage showed James and Sherilyn standing inside their home, facing a wall, barely moving. Madison stood nearby, silent. The family did not speak. Their expressions were distant, vacant, almost fearful. The video disturbed everyone who saw it. Friends later said Sherilyn believed spirits were living in the walls. She reportedly burned religious texts, claiming they were cursed. James, though quieter, appeared to support her beliefs, isolating the family further from relatives and friends. Search teams combed the area for months. Helicopters flew overhead. Volunteers searched the forest floor. Nothing was found. The case began to grow cold. Then, in November 2013, 4 years later, hunters stumbled upon skeletal remains deep in the forest, roughly 3 miles from where the truck had been discovered. The remains belonged to James, Sherilyn, and Madison Jamison. There were no clear signs of trauma, no bullet casings, no weapons. The cause of death could not be definitively determined. The location raised even more questions. The terrain between the truck and the remains was difficult, steep, and heavily wooded. Madison was only 6 years old. How did she walk that far? Why would the family leave the road and travel deeper into the wilderness? Some investigators suggested the family became disoriented, possibly suffering from exposure or dehydration. Others proposed that Sherilyn's mental health played a critical role, leading the family into a dangerous situation. But none of the explanations fully satisfied the evidence. The money remained unexplained. Why carry such a large amount of cash into the mountains? Why leave it behind? No evidence of robbery was ever found. Some theories suggested paranoia drove the family to flee imagined threats. Others speculated about criminal involvement, though no proof ever surfaced. A few believed the family was attempting to disappear intentionally, but why leave the money and phones? Even the position of the remains raised doubts. The bodies were found close together, suggesting the family stayed together until the end. There was no sign Madison wandered off, no sign anyone tried to escape. The forest kept its answers. Authorities eventually ruled the deaths as unknown, possibly related to exposure, but unknown did little to ease the haunting nature of the case. The Jamison family story is disturbing not because of what is known, but because of what is missing. There is no clear moment of violence, no clear villain, no definitive explanation. Only a quiet disappearance, a truck left behind, money untouched, and a family who walked into the wilderness and never returned. To this day, the case divides investigators and true crime researchers. Some view it as a tragic result of mental illness and isolation. Others believe there is more, something unseen, unrecorded, and unexplained. The Jamison family did not leave a note. They did not send a final message. They simply vanished, and the mountains of Oklahoma have never told what truly happened to them.